Welcome back to the Figma Bootcamp. I'm AOA, and in today's video, we are focusing on one of the most important aspects of the design process, which is the collaboration with the developer. It's called handoff. I hate the term because it sounds like you're handing off something and then not touching it again, ever, which is never the case. A great design are only valuable when they can be built, and Figma provide powerful tools like dev mode to bridge the gap between design and development. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to prepare your design for handoff, communicate effectively with the developers, and create smooth workflows between design and development teams. So let's get started. As always, just before we dive in, let's understand why proper design handoff is crucial to the success of any design project. Design handoff, again, is the process of transferring your design to the devs in a way they can implement accurately. Without proper handoff process and communication, even the most beautiful designs can result in disappointing implementation. If you take an example from some of my past work, which is not my best work in any way, but this is the design that I have provided to the devs, and this is what I got as a result. As you can see, the colors are not the same, there is inconsistency in the spacing, the typography are not the same, the iconography is not the same, responsiveness is not working effectively, nothing is really good. So Figma solves these challenges by providing tools specifically designed to bridge the communication gap between designers and developers. The goal isn't just to show the devs what the design looks like, but communicate precise measurement and specification, component structure and variations, a responsive behavior, if any, interactive states, everything. So when that's done correctly, a good handoff process makes the development more efficient. It reduces back and forth questions and ensure the final product matches your design vision. Before sharing your design with the developers, it's pretty important to ensure that everything in the Figma file is organized and built using Figma tools correctly. So for everything that we've seen before, and we use the Travenol UI kit that we used in previous video, again, but you might think that this is enough of a handoff. We have our screens and potentially some of the components that needs to be used in there. However, this is good, but not great. If we bring back the UI, as always, you might see that some of the elements have names that are not necessarily making any sense, as in frame 343 makes no sense for any dev. It might make sense to you, to container, but it might not be good. Other than that, the organization of these screens might be confusing for some of the dev, not really knowing the flow of the app. We know as designers, because we've been working on these files for a long time, that these three elements goes together, these five here goes together, and so on. So here is what I recommend for this. Bundle all of your features in section frames. That way, a dev that knows that has been tasked on the onboarding feature will only have to focus on the onboarding section. In here, ensure that most, if not all, of your frames are using auto layout frames, that your layers are named properly. The good thing about the new Figma AI features is that if, for example, you have a ton of frames and screens that don't really have names, you can use the AI features and say rename layer, which is currently beta, but still works pretty well, will have the renaming of everything inside of your frames. You don't need to think about it too much. Most of it is pretty good. Some of them are not, but as a starter, this is really good. While everything is renamed, make sure that you also use auto layout, that your components are used properly, as in this is not a component, but this is a component, so you want to replace every element that is not a component in there. Again, from what I said earlier in the videos, it would be appreciated from the dev perspective to have everything that is going to be a component set next to said element. We have the pagination that will be a component. We have the button that will be a component. In that element, you may have a version that is pressed with the other options so you can see and tell the dev exactly what they need to work on before they can start working on the page. If you go in the inspect mode for the designers, we have a ton of skills that the devs really don't care about. Going into the dev mode, which is this button right here, or Shift D to go in dev mode, will bring you, as I said before, a new interface and then a new inspector to bring and showcase more details about the assets available in the page, but also what is in there, a better measurement tool to help the user and dev. Also now, since yesterday, having a better color eyedropper to really take the proper color from the screens, and also an annotation element, which would be applied on top of the content to showcase annotation for the devs specifically with different categories. But you, as a designer, can say this is currently set to interactions. The interactions is supposed to be a slide interaction. It has a specific property of a height that needs to be static, and maybe the feel is something that we don't really care about, but corner radius is necessary to have that matching at the bottom. You can give your devs a bit more information, properties about the content on the view and in the page that they are supposed to work on. So this is made available in the dev mode, but if I do Shift D to go back into design mode, you can see how they are still present and visible, but they are smaller and less disruptive than where they were before. You can access all of these tools directly through the command, new down arrow, giving you the annotation and measure tool, or Shift T or Shift M to get access to these tools while in design. Remember that these sections are also really good to tell the dev that this specific element is ready for dev. That will give them a ping, but also showcase and limit their visibility content to anything and only these things that are marked as ready for dev. So while inspect mode provides technical specifications for some of the design, there are other aspects of your design that would benefit from additional documentation. As an example, in the MOM UI kit, we have access to the page-specific documentation, but that would be displayed next to a specific component. For example, here, the button component, we have documentation explaining what is a button, what is its purpose, how it can be used, and some pro tips specific to that component. We have created these documentation for each and every single component to help you as a designer, but also to help the dev understand what are these components used for. The design handoff and dev mode isn't the end of the design process. It's often the beginning of a greater collaborative iteration cycle. So let's explore how to use Figma for ongoing collaboration during the development. We will use the comment for asynchronous communication. The comments feature, which is right here for the devs, but also right here for you as a designer, allows specific contextual discussion which are tied to exact element. Let's say I needed to have a discussion about that frame specifically. By clicking and adding a comment and then pressing enter, that comment is going to be tied to that frame. If I'm moving the frame itself, you can see how the comment is moving with it. So the developer will be able to leave questions on your designs and you will have the ability to reply directly. Once something has been resolved and the question has been answered, you can mark it as resolved. That will remove the comment from the feedback and comment section on the right side, which takes over the inspector when you are in comment mode. Creating a design quality assurance process is pretty important too. You can create checklists by using Figma components or use Trello or your Not app to follow through and ensure that everything is done in time. Going back to the MOM UI kit, including these colors, typography, spacings, elevation, behavior is crucial to have a good design system built in dev and in design. As the development progresses, you may need to make some design adjustments here and there. When making changes, clearly communicate what changed to the devs and consider using a change page to highlight modifications for the developers. As we've seen before, prototypes are going to be really useful to showcase transitions and realism in your app. However, even though you have created the prototype, there is a high probability for you devs to not click on the play button or the prototype page to see that. To ensure that during a meeting or discussion, go over the prototype to showcase what you had in mind for transitions and flow. These meetings will help you identify area that needs clarifications and adjustment based on the feasibility in code. And so by maintaining an open communication and using Figma's collaborative features, you can work through implementation challenges together with the devs, which will result in a better final product. Something related to you as a designer, if you learn the basics of development concept, as in understanding development constraints, helps you design more implementable solution from the get-go. So familiarize yourself with HTML and CSS, platforms, capabilities, and limitation. If you want to know exactly what the devs are currently using, ask them about the tech stack that they are currently using and what are the limitations of these specific languages. We've seen numerous times that designers and dev may have the use for the same words, meaning things that are different. A frame for a designer might mean a div for dev and vice versa. So a common glossary or vocabulary between the devs and the designer that both understand to ensure good communication. Your developer will have questions, but you need to make yourself available and ready to receive questions in order for them to ask the question. Establishing a clear channel for developers to ask questions directly to you or through Slack and respond to their questions promptly to prevent development delays. If you don't want to receive too many questions, make sure to involve the devs early in the process. We don't really think about it, but when we are building a new feature, having a dev or backend dev in the core meeting to ensure the feasibility while the feature is being thought out is a good idea. So today we've explored how to effectively collaborate with the devs. We've covered how to prepare your design for proper organization with sections, ensure that your Figma designs are really well organized with auto layout, components, and everything, creating clear documentation for complex behaviors, and establish collaborative feedback processes with Slack channels and comments, annotations in your designs. Following these best practice will help the developer designer collaboration. Remember that the goals of the design handoff isn't just to pass your design to the developers. It is to collaborate with them to create the best possible implementation of your vision. By using Figma's collaboration features and following the practice we've discussed, we can create a smooth and effective process that results in a higher quality implementation and better working relationships. As you continue your Figma journey, keep exploring new ways to improve your collaboration with developers and other team members. Effective collaboration across teams is often what separates good designers from great ones. As always, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for the full Figma Bootcamp. Patreon member get early access to the videos and access to the Figma files. The links are going to be in the description down below. What other aspects of the design to development process would you like to see covered in more details in future video? Let me know in the comment. As always, until next time, happy designing.